Hello. I want to welcome you all to our second series of Concord webinars, which is going to focus specifically on how to use Concord on a mobile device. Based on all the feedback we received from last year's webinar series, this was one of the most requested topics, so I wanted to thank all of you who participated in this survey. For those of you who may not have met us yet, I wanted just to take a brief moment to introduce myself and the Concord team. My name's Peter, and I'm the Digital Product Manager for Concord. And joining me today, I have three of our seasoned Concord experts, Will, Bree, and Kristen. We all work for the Office of the Publisher's Agent, or OPA for short. It is our responsibility to continue the publication of Mary Baker Eddy's published writings on behalf of the Board of Directors, who are the publishers of these writings, whether it's the translation work or the publishing of physical and digital books. Okay, so with the introductions out of the way, let's talk about what we're going to cover in today's webinar. As this is an introduction to using Concord on a smartphone, we're going to spend time familiarizing ourselves with navigating Concord's mobile interface, as well as performing some of the most common Concord tasks. The format of this webinar will consist of 3 demonstrations given by Will, Bree and Kristen, and this will last a total of about 35 minutes, followed by a questions and answer session, which should take us up to the top of the hour. So at this point, I wanted to mention that all of today's demonstrations are going to be taking place on an iPhone, as this is what most of our customers are using and are most familiar with. However, if you are joining us and using an Android device, don't worry, because all of the demonstrations will work the same way on an Android as they will an iPhone. Throughout today's demonstrations, if you think of any questions, feel free to use the questions and answers feature built into Zoom. This is usually labeled Q&A. On a desktop or laptop, you'll find this usually at the bottom of your Zoom window. But if you're joining on a tablet or phone, you may need to tap the screen first to bring up this menu, and then you should be able to go ahead and tap Q&A. At the end of these demos, we look forward to answering as many of your questions as we can. And don't worry, if we don't get to them all, we will be in touch via email afterwards with a follow-up response. The final thing I wanted to mention before we get the ball rolling here is that we will be recording all of the webinars in this series. So for those that weren't able to join us here live today, or for those that might want to rewatch a part or all of the webinar to get a bit more familiar with some of the content, you'll be able to do so at your own convenience. And I'll tell you a little bit later on how you can go ahead and rewatch those. So, without further ado, let's bring in Will, who's going to talk us through how to navigate Concord on your phone. Over to you, Will.
Thanks, Pete, and hello, everyone. My name is Will, and I'll be leading the first demonstration today. And first off, we just want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to participate in today's webinar. I'll speak for the whole team when I say these are a lot of fun for us to put on, and we greatly appreciate your support and your enthusiasm for Concord. As Pete mentioned, all of today's demonstrations will be done on our phones. My demonstration will cover 3 main things. The first thing I'll cover is how to access Concord on your phone. After that, I'll go over how to navigate Concord on your smartphone. And then I'll finish my demonstration by demoing how to get the Concord shortcut onto your phone's home screen. So I'll just reiterate that all of the demonstrations today will be done on our phones. In a second here, my face will disappear and you'll see 2 views. On the left is a direct live feed that's coming directly out of my phone, so you can see a crisp and clear image of what we're seeing. And on the right-hand side is a bird's eye view with my phone and my hands so that you can see what we're tapping on. Both views are showing the exact same content. And all the demonstrations today will follow this same format. For our next bit of housekeeping, the production team will put a slide onto the screen showing 3 or 4 of the most common terms and icons we're going to be talking about today. In the top left is the 3-dot icon, and you'll see this in search, in the read panel, as well as in the lists. Below that is the 9-dot icon, which is used to drag and drop citations in a list. In the top right is the 3 horizontal line menu, which we'll see in the list panel, as well as on the Concord website. And then below that is the expand and collapse icon, which is used to expand and collapse search results and citations and lists. So with all that out of the way, let's get this party started. And we're going to go to my phone here. And the first thing we want to do is go to whatever your preferred internet browser is on your phone. So on my iPhone, we have the Safari app, but you can use Google Chrome or Firefox, really whatever you prefer. I will say that if you'd like to create the smartphone shortcut for Concord, you'll have to use the Safari app. So I'll tap on Safari. And the next thing you'll want to do is look for the search bar. Mine happens to be at the bottom. Yours might be towards the top. But once you locate that search bar, you can go to concord.christianscience.com. So I'll type that in. And if you're following along, I'll just repeat it. You're going to go to concord.christianscience.com. And then once you've typed that in, on my iPhone we have a go button, which I'll tap. But your Android, if you have one of those, might have an arrow key or an enter button. So again, once you've typed in the website address, tap go, and that will load the Concord website. The next thing we want to do is go to the 3 horizontal line menu, which we were just talking about on the slide. It's towards the top right of the website, and it's directly to the right of the Concord logo. So I'll tap on that 3 horizontal line menu, and then choose Login/Guest Access, which is the first menu option. And that will bring up the page to log into your Concord account. And if we'll just bear with me here while we load. We're still loading. I'm going to try going on my data real quick. All right, there we go. So we can log in with our Concord account now with either your email address and password, or you can continue as a guest below. And since I have a Concord account, I'm going to type in my email address and password. And if you're following along, you can do the same thing. So I'll type that in. And then once you type in your email address, you can type in your password. And then once you've done both of those things, you can tap Sign In to launch Concord. And as we load in, I thought it would be good because a lot of us are more familiar using Concord on our computers and not as much with using Concord on our phones, that I talk about some of the similarities between the two and how really you're using the same program no matter the device you're using. So if you think of using Concord on your computer, you have 3 main panels. On the left-hand side, you have the Study Tools panel where you go to search. In the center, you have the Read panel where you can read the text. And on the right-hand side, you have the List panel where you can see your lists and folders. Well, the mobile version of Concord has all those same components. They're just represented a little differently in a way that's best for the mobile experience. So if you look towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see 5 main tabs. So starting on the left, you see Search, Books, Read, Lists, and More. So when thinking about those same 3 panels on desktop, you can look at the Search tab and the Books tab, and together, those actually make up everything you're used to doing in the Study Tools panel. The Read tab, well, that emulates the Read panel. And then the List tab, that's where you go to manage all your lists. So again, the mobile version of Concord is really very similar to what you might be already used to using. So let's check out these tabs. So let's first go to the Search tab on the very left, and I'll tap on that. It's got the magnifying glass. And you can see towards the top, you can enter in a word or phrase by clicking in the search bar and then tapping on the magnifying glass. And then towards the bottom, you can see that the Search tab also has your recent and favorite searches as well. And Bree's going to talk a little bit more about search in her demonstration. Next, we'll go to the Books tab at the very bottom. And here, you'll see all of Mrs. Eddy's books that are in Concord, as well as the Holy Bible and the Christian Science hymnal. And the Books tab is really great for when you know you want to navigate to a specific chapter. For instance, I'd like to go to the chapter on prayer and science and health. You can locate that book in the Books tab here, tap on the drop-down menu for, say, Science and Health, and then simply click on whatever chapter you'd like to navigate to. Another thing I'd like to draw your attention to is towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see an indexes drop-down menu. And you can tap on the drop-down arrow there, and that will show you the different indexes that are in Concord. And this is actually a new feature for their mobile version of Concord in 2022. And if you haven't used indexes yet in Concord, they're really awesome. And you won't want to miss next week's webinar where Kristen will give a really in-depth demonstration on how to use these indexes. They're really amazing, and they've really changed the way I use Concord. Next is the Read tab, right in the center. So I'll tap on that book, and it will open up the text. So right now I'm looking at Science and Health, and you can see all the text you're used to seeing. The next tab is the List tab. So when I tap on that, it will open up my List Manager. And here you can see all the different lists I have in my Concord account. And I want to take this moment to talk about a question we often get from customers. They talk about how they've created all these wonderful lists and readings on their computer, and they're hesitant to try the mobile version of Concord because they don't want to kind of lose access to those lists. And we gladly tell them that, don't worry, when you log into your Concord account on your phone with your same email address and password, you can actually work seamlessly between both devices. So you can create readings on your phone and then log in on your computer later in the night, and you'll see those exact same lists that you created earlier. I like to think of the mobile version of Concord in the same way that I think of my Pocket Edition Science and Health and Bible. It's the same exact books that I love. It just fits in my pocket. So the same thing goes with Concord. I can take it really wherever I go. And that's one of the things we wanted to share with you today. And then the final tab on the very right is the More tab. So I'll tap on that. And there's a number of miscellaneous options and settings, but the two I want to talk about with you today is how to change your font size and how to get access to our help materials. So to change your font size, you go to the font option and you'll just simply tap on it. And here you can choose between small, medium, and large font. And whenever you change the font here, it'll change the font size in the Read tab. And then you can tap on font size again to minimize that menu option. And then the one right below it is Help. And if you tap on that, you'll get access to our entire help catalog, including help articles, training videos, and Concord frequently asked questions. So I just want to show you those two today. All right, so now that hopefully we're all feeling a little bit more oriented in what we're looking at with the mobile version of Concord, I thought I would quickly show you how to get the Concord shortcut onto your phone's home screen. And before I start, I just want to share again that I'm using an iPhone, and if you're following along on an Android, the way that you create this shortcut might be a little bit different, but a lot of the same principles still apply. And actually, after this webinar this afternoon, you'll be getting an email from us, and it will contain a replay of this webinar, but also two help videos. One for how to get the shortcut on an iPhone, and the other one how to get the Concord shortcut on your Android. So again, if I'm going a little bit too quick, don't worry, there's some more help on the way, but I just wanted to quickly demo it here today. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look for the share icon, and mine's towards the very bottom of my screen. It's a square with an arrow pointing out of it, and it's right below the Read tab on my phone. And so I'll tap on that share icon, and it will bring up a menu, and I'll just scroll up with my finger, and I want to look for the menu option that says Add to Home Screen there. So once you've found Add to Home Screen, you can tap on it, and it will give you the option to title or name your Concord icon. Luckily, it auto-populates to Concord, so I don't have to do much typing, but you can change it to whatever you'd like. Then once you're satisfied with the name of the icon, you can go to the top right-hand side and tap Add. And you'll see when I tap Add here, it will exit us out of Safari and back to my home screen, and the icon will appear. So I'll tap Add, and there we go, we're exited out. And look at that, there's our Concord icon, and it really looks like an app. And what you can do is you can just tap on that icon, and it will load us directly into Concord. And because this is the first time we've accessed Concord in this way, we'll have to accept cookies again. If you would like to choose which cookies you accept, you can tap Let Me Choose, but I'll just tap Accept All. All right, now you'll have to log in with your Concord account one more time. So I'll do that, and I'll try and speed type here. And as you do that, one thing I want to call out is the Keep Me Logged In checkbox. And the Keep Me Logged In, there we go. Oh, it's not pasting. Well, one moment as I type in my password here. All right. The Keep Me Logged In checkbox is right below the password box, and it's a really awesome tool. If you're using a personal device, like if this is your personal phone, I recommend you check that because every time you come into Concord, you don't have to log in as frequently. However, if you're using a shared device like a family tablet or iPad, or you're on a library computer, we actually don't recommend you use Keep Me Logged In. But since this is my personal device, I can check Keep Me Logged In by just tapping in the box, and then I can choose Sign In. And we're back into Concord. And one of the things I instantly noticed was that with the Concord icon, I actually have a lot more real estate. I no longer have the Safari bar at the bottom and top. And so really this makes for a wonderful way to access Concord with no distractions. And just to demonstrate how easy it is to get into this icon once you've added it to your home screen, I'm just going to exit to my home screen. And let's just pretend in an hour I want to access Concord. I can just log in on my phone, type in my password and whatnot, come to this icon and just tap on it, and just like that, I'm into Concord. Because I checked Keep Me Logged In, no more signing in. And so again, this is just a really wonderful tool, and I can go instantly into search or read the books or view a list, whatever I'd like to do. So I know that was a lot, and I'm happy to answer any questions towards the end in the Q&A, but that's the end of my demonstration. So I'll be passing the demonstration hat to Pete, and he'll introduce the next presentation.
Thank you so much, Will. That was great. And I hope all of you joining us found that helpful too. Remember, as Will said, if you do have any questions, go ahead and use the questions and answers feature built into Zoom. And we look forward to answering as many of these as we can right at the end. Okay, so with that, let's hand things over to Bree, who's going to talk us through how to perform a search, view the search results in the books, and how to copy and paste. Over to you, Bree.
Hi everybody, it's really good to be here with you today. As Pete said, in my demo, I'm going to walk you through how to search in Concord, as well as how to copy and paste a passage from Concord into another application like a text message or an email so that you can share passages with friends. So to begin, we'll take a look at my phone screen. And I'm going to begin by tapping on the search button in the bottom left-hand corner right here. This will bring up the search tab, and then I'm going to tap in the search bar at the top of the page. Tapping there will bring up my keyboard, and at this point you can enter in any word or phrase that you're interested in searching for. So today I'm going to start by searching for the word comforter. Once you have your word or phrase entered into the search bar, you can either tap the gray magnifying glass icon that's just to the right of the search bar, or you can hit the return button on the keyboard. Some people like to use the return button because it's a little bit bigger and easier to tap. Once you've selected return, you'll be able to see that Concord found search results. So you can see how many search results were found right up here at the top. For this word, it was 26. And they appear in the Bible, Science and Health, Hymnal, and Mrs. Eddy's other writings. To see the results within any of these books, simply tap on the name of that book. For example, I can tap on Science and Health, and that will expand my search results within Science and Health and show me everywhere that the word comforter appears in that book. As I'm scrolling through these search results, if there's a particular passage that really interests me and I'd like to read it in context, I can easily navigate to that passage by simply tapping on the words of it. So for example, I'll tap on this first passage, which you can see is on page 55, lines 27 to 28 of Science and Health. So I'll tap here and it will open the passage in the Read tab. Now we're in the Read tab, and you can see that that passage was highlighted in green. Once you have a passage highlighted in green, it's easy to copy and paste this passage from Concord to another program. To do that, we're going to come up to the Citation Builder. The Citation Builder is this small box right at the top of the screen, and this will appear anytime you have text in the Read tab highlighted. Next, you're going to tap on the three-dot icon, which you may remember from the slide that Will walked you through. Tapping on this icon is going to open up a menu. Now we have our menu open, and you'll see there are two distinct sections of this menu. The first is Add to Recent List. This is a way that you can save the passage within your Concord account, and Kristen is going to walk you through how to do that, so I'll leave that one for now. We're going to focus on this bottom section, Copy Selected. You'll see there are 4 different options under Copy Selected. These 4 options are 4 different copy-paste formats you can choose from. And I wanted to show you an example of each of those, so I created a slide that outlines the different copy-paste options. So you can see here on the very top of the slide, we have citation format. That is the simplest copy-paste option we have, and it's going to give you just the citation of the passage that you had highlighted. You can see the example is Psalms 91, 1 and 2. Or for a book like Science and Health, you'll get the page and then the line numbers. Below that, we have free-flowing format. This is going to take all of the words from the passage that you had highlighted, and it will paste it in one big paragraph without any special formatting. That's really great for text messages. Next, we have book format. Book format is going to try and preserve as much of the book formatting as it can. It's going to keep things like line or verse numbers, line breaks, and even marginal headings where those appear. I will note that some programs, the book formatting doesn't copy and paste quite as well. Like text messages, free-flowing works a lot easier. And lastly, we have a Concord link. The Concord link is special because if you select that option, you'll get a clickable URL, just like the one that you can see that's blue there on the screen. And if you send that to a friend and they click on that link, it's going to open up the Concord website for them and give them the option to either log into their Concord account, or if they don't have a Concord account, they can access the program via Concord Guest Access, which is free for anyone to use. And once they're in the program, Concord will bring them right to the passage that you had sent them. It will bring that passage up in the Read tab, and it will highlight it for them. So this is a nice option if you want to send a passage to someone who you know uses Concord and might be interested in reading some of the context around the quote that you were sending. So now we're going to go back to my phone and I'll show you an example of a few of these. I'm going to start with free flowing. So I'll tap on the words free flowing and you'll see this white menu will disappear and the word copied will appear in the middle of my screen. So let's watch for that. And there was my copied message. So now I know that my phone has temporarily saved this passage, and I can paste it into another program to send to a friend. So I'm going to go back to my home screen, and on my iPhone to do that, I just swipe up from the bottom. You may have a home button or another way to navigate back to your home screen. You can do that however works well on your phone. And then you can open up the program that you'd like to paste that passage into. I'm going to use the Gmail app here. And then I'll tap once to get my cursor within the body of this email. Now I'm going to paste the passage. And to paste this passage, I'll do a slightly longer hold with my finger, and then I'll release. And you'll see this will bring up a menu with a paste option. So we'll go tap, hold, release, and then I will select paste. And my passage will appear right here. And along with the passage, you'll also get an attribution so that whoever receives this will know where it's from. Now we can go back to Concord and find a few more passages to add to this email. To do that again, I'll navigate to my home screen, and then I'll tap on the Concord shortcut icon that Will showed everybody how to make. Tapping on that icon is going to bring me back exactly where I left off in the program. Next, I'll head back to the Search tab again by tapping on the Search icon at the bottom of the screen. Now I'd like to do a new search. So to clear out this old search and the search bar, I'll tap on the X in a circle right in the corner of the search bar. That will clear everything out all at once. Now that I can start fresh, I'm going to search for a specific citation rather than a word or a phrase. Concord will let you do that just as easily. In this instance, I want to go to the very beginning of the Bible. So I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. To do that, I'll put in the abbreviation for the book, which in this case is Gen. You could use the whole name of the book if you preferred. Then I'll put in the chapter number, a colon, and the verse number. Once I have my citation entered into the search bar, I'll hit the return button, and you'll see Concord will navigate us directly to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in the Read tab. Here we are. As you're scrolling through and reading, if there are a few additional verses you'd like to include in the passage that you copy, you can highlight those verses simply by tapping them. Tapping verses will highlight, and if you change your mind and you decide, I don't really want to include verse 4 here, simply tap again and the passage will be deselected. I will note this is a little bit different than how Concord works on a laptop or a desktop computer. On a laptop or desktop, you can highlight part of a sentence or part of a verse. For example, you could highlight up to the colon in verse 4 here. On a mobile device, you can either select or deselect a verse or sentence in its entirety. Once you have the passage highlighted that you'd like to copy and paste, you can go right back to that three-dot icon at the top of the screen. Selecting that icon will again open this menu, and you can choose which copy-paste format you'd like to use. I'm going to use book format this time, so I can show you another one of the copy-paste options. So when I tap on book format, look for that small copied message appearing in the middle of my screen. We got the copied message, so now I know that my phone is temporarily saving this passage. And I'll head back to my email by again returning to my home screen and selecting the app I want to use. Now that I'm here, I'll use my keyboard and I'll put a little bit of space between these two passages. And then I'm going to repeat that slightly longer tap, hold, and release to bring up the paste option. Since there were already words in the body of this email, you can see I have a few more options in this menu that popped up, and I'll simply stick with paste. And now you'll be able to see my passage, and since I chose book formatting, the verse numbers have been preserved as well as the line breaks. Once you've pasted all of the passages that you would like to into this email, you can send it off to the recipient, and then you can head back to Concord using that shortcut icon to continue studying. I'll note that I was pasting into an email, but you can paste into text messages or documents, whatever application on your phone is most comfortable for you. I hope that this demo was a good reminder of how to search in Concord and how to copy and paste passages to share with others. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Pete to introduce our last demo. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Bree. That was great. One of the things that I love about Concord is that there's almost always more than one way to do something within the program, and so appreciate being reminded of that again, especially with copy and paste. Again, if you do have any questions, do feel free to use the question and answer feature built into Zoom. We've definitely been getting some coming in and look forward to answering them at the end. Well, as Bree mentioned, it's time to hand the baton over to Kristen, who's going to cover our third and final session today. We're going to be looking at how to create and manage lists. And so, Kristen, I'll hand the baton, as I said, over to you.
Thanks so much, Pete. Hi everyone, I'm Kristen and I'm so glad to be here today to show you how to use lists on your smartphone. In thinking about this demonstration, I really was contemplating why do I love lists in Concord and especially on my smartphone. And I realized that it makes it really easy to have them with me on the go. As Will said, it's like they're always in your pocket, and if you have an inspiration strike at any moment, you can add it right at that moment, right from the books, into a list. And we're going to talk about how to do that today. Recently, I was out on a walk, I remember, and I was struck by this amazing idea as I was praying from hymn 66 that talks about sweeping away the veil. And I took the opportunity right at that moment to pull out my phone and to note that citation in my list so that I could go back and access it later on in the day. When I got back to my desk that evening, I sat down and I was reminded that I had had that inspiration, and I opened Concord on my desk and I started to dig into that concept about sweeping away the veil a little deeper, and I really just loved having that reminder right there and being able to continue my study. Similarly, I can also, if I study the Bible lesson in the morning and I want to access an idea that I've noted, I can study it right in Concord and then open it during my lunch hour or on my train ride home, and I have all of my ideas right there to continue right where I left off. Bree reminded me of one other idea as she was demonstrating how to share through her email. You can also share a list with friends. We're not going to be talking about that today, but at some point, I'll bet maybe next week we could cover that in the webinar. So come on back and we'll talk about how to do that. So let's now jump into how to create a list on your smartphone. So to begin, we're going to go over here to the button that is the second one from the right that has the little icon of a notebook, and we're going to tap on that, and that brings us into lists. And we are here in our list manager, so I don't have a list open right now. These just show me the various lists that are in my Concord account. Now, if you haven't ever created a list, then you may see this be empty right here, and that's okay because we're going to create one here and you can do it right along with me if you'd like. There are two ways to create a list from within the list panel. The first one, you'll see this green bar right up here at the very top. On the far right-hand side of the green bar, you're going to see a plus sign, and that plus sign is a way to create a list. And you'll see that green bar whether you're in the list manager or if you actually have a list open. So that's a way to create a list regardless of which space you're in the list panel. The second way is this button right here, I'm going to zoom in on, that says Create New List. And now I'll zoom back out, and I'm going to tap on that button to create a new list here for us. Now that I have my list here open, it says Enter a list name right up here at the top in this field. And so I'm going to tap in that to give my list a title. For our demo today, I'm going to call it Joy. I don't have time to go through some of these other features right now, but feel free to ask and maybe we'll be able to cover them during the question and answer portion. So I'm just going to go over here to the Save button on the right-hand side, and I'm going to tap Save. And now my list is created, and it's ready for citations to be added to it. So let's do that. There are going to be 3 different ways that you can add citations that I'm going to demo here today. The first one will be from the list panel. Then we'll show you how to do it from the search panel, as well as from the read panel. So to begin, to add a citation from the list panel, once again, I'm going to zoom in here over to this button that says Add Citation. It's the one on the far left. And I'll zoom back out all the way. And so now I'm going to tap on this Add Citation, which opens again a place for me to manually type in a citation reference. So for example, Psalm 23 is a very familiar passage to probably many of you. And so we can type that Psalm 23:1 right into the field manually. And then if you wanted to put in a note to yourself, you can always add that in the box right below the citation, but I have to spell it right. There we go. And so now, once I have my citation, and if I want to add a note, I'm good to go. And all I need to do is tap on this button here that says Save. And now I have my first citation added to my list. So now let's go over to the search field, which is that button on the very far left, and we're going to tap on that and open our search. And I'm going to clear, just like Bree did, using the round circle with the X, and clear out the search results that are there, so I can type in a new keyword, and I'm going to do a search for the word joy. And then I'll hit the return button to bring up my search results. I'm going to open Science and Health, and I'm going to scroll to the third passage here on page 58, and I want to open that in the Read panel so that I can see it. So I'm going to tap on the text, just like Bree showed us, and that will open and highlight that passage within the Read panel. And now, up at the top, again, our citation builder is visible. So we're going to go back to that three-dot icon that will bring up our menu. And so I'm going to tap on that icon. Here's the menu that you saw with Bree for copying. And up here at the top, now you can see here's where we can add to a recent list that we have created. You'll see that my joy list that I just created is right here at the very top. And so I'm going to tap on joy. And just like with copied, you'll see a little tiny bubble appear for just a brief moment, letting me know that I have added a citation to my list. So here I go, I'm going to tap. Here's my little message that says added to list. And now this passage from Science and Health is in my list. You may have also noticed that an underline appeared on this passage when I did that. And what that means is that that's an indicator within the Read panel that this particular citation has been included in a list. So let's go back to our search results here. And I'm going to go back to this one from Science and Health again on page 21. Now there's a way to add to a list right from our search box. We don't have to open the passage within the Read panel, but you always are welcome to. But you'll see next to each citation, there is a three-dot icon next to each one of those. And if you tap on that three-dot icon here in the search, we're going to see the same menu that we saw in the Read panel. So I'm going to tap on that now. Here's this same menu. And right up at the top, once again, is our list titled Joy that I just created. I'm going to tap on that. You'll see the little bubble that says added to a list. And now I have 3 citations in my lists. So let's go back to my list tab down here at the bottom by tapping on that. And you can see the passage that I added manually, the one that I added from the Read panel, and the one from the search panel. So let's go back to search one more time, and let's delve a little deeper into this passage from Science and Health on page 21. It starts with the words, if honest. And as I was looking at this one, I was reminded that I actually had created a list before that dealt with that concept of honesty, and I'd been doing some study about that. And so I want to add this passage to that list as well. So we're going to follow the same steps. We're going to tap on that 3-dot icon, which opens our menu. But this time, instead of tapping on the list that I just created, you can see the third list down is titled Honesty. And that's the list I want to add the citation to. And so I'm going to tap on this one. And once again, I get the notice that it's been added to my list. Now here's the trivia for the day. Over in the List panel, what do you think we're going to see? I did have the list Joy open. Is that still going to be what we're shown? Let's go find out. So when I tap on Lists, now in my List panel, you can see that I have my list Honesty opened. And the reason for that is when I added a new citation to that different list, the List panel automatically changed to being the Honesty list instead of the Joy list. But don't worry, if you want to access the Joy list again, right up here on the far left, there's a little arrow, And when you tap on that, it will take you back to that main list manager, and you'll see all of your lists, and you can open Joy again right from there. So let's talk about a couple other things that we can do here in lists from within this honesty list that I have open now. So my science and health passage from page 21 was added to my list at the very bottom, but you can see I have a couple of science and health passages up at the top. And so I'd like to put this one with the other ones. So in order to do that, I'm going to do something that's called drag and drop. First, let me explain what exactly that is. On the left-hand side here, there's what we call the 9-dot icon. It looks like a little square. That is the icon you can use to drag and drop a citation to a new location within lists. So you're going to tap and hold on that icon, keep your finger pressed to the screen and drag the citation to where you want it. And then when it gets to where you want it to be, you're going to pull your finger off of the screen and it will release the citation, and then you will have it in its new location. So let me do that now. So we're going to tap and hold, and now you can see I'm dragging my finger up, and you should be able to see a green bar behind it and sort of a gray part where the citation is. And now I've got it up near where the science and health passages are. My finger's still touching the screen right now, but as soon as I release, it's going to place the citation in this location. So here we go. And now you can see my citation is the second one in my list. Let's talk about, here at the end, just how to view the text that is associated with these citations. So the first way to do that is to actually have a preview text show by simply tapping on the citation. So if I tap on Science and Health 2112, it shows me that citation text from the book. If I want to see the text for all of the citations that I have in my list, that's where I can use this expand collapse icon right up here at the very top. And if I tap on that, it now expands the text for all of these citations that are in my list. And if I tap it again, it would shrink them back down to only show me the citation. And finally, if I want to go back to Science and Health and read this passage in the context of the book, when I have the preview text showing, all I need to do is tap on that preview text. It will open the read panel. Let me do that. The read panel opens and it highlights the text, and now I can add more to my citation, or I can just continue reading from here, or do other good study that will continue my digging into the books. Those are the things that I have time to share with you today. I hope you try lists and see if you enjoy them as much as I do. And now I'm going to pass it back to Pete so that we can answer some more questions for you during our webinar. Pete?
Thank you for walking us through all of that, Kristen. That was awesome. Well, that concludes the presentation part of this webinar. And as I said, we've had a number of questions come in. So why don't we jump across to some of the questions and see what we can get answered here for you guys. Okay. All right, well, we've had somebody write in and say, I missed last year's webinar. Am I able to rewatch them? So Bree, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. You can view the replays of last year's webinar and this year on our Concord Help Center. And you may remember that Will showed you how to access the Help Center by going to the More button and then clicking on Help. And then you can select Read Helpful Articles, and that will take you right to the Help Center. After this webinar, we're also going to send you an email that will have a link to the page on our website with all of the recordings of both today's webinar and last year's. So we hope that you use those helpful resources and enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Bree. Okay, Will, I think we've got a question for you. Somebody writes in and says, how can I move my shortcut to another screen of my phone?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. And if we could bring up the two views again, please. I'm going to, right now I'm in my shortcut, so I'm going to swipe up to go to my home screen. And what you want to do is, just like the tapping and holding Bree demonstrated in her demonstration, you're going to want to tap and hold on the icon. And so in my case, I'm going to tap and hold this Concord icon. And then a menu pops up, and it will say Edit Home Screen. And so if I tap on that, my apps and icons will start shaking. And then, actually, we're bridging the gap between the demonstrations. Kristen talked about drag and drop. You're going to do the same action. You're going to press on the icon now, and you're going to hold, and then you can just drag it wherever you'd like to move it. So I can move it between these two now, just like that. And then when I'm done, I can click Done on the top right-hand side of my screen, and it's been moved.
Great. Well, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Will. Okay, let me see. Actually, Will, while we still have you, somebody else has asked, can you show me how to change the font size again, please?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to go back to my phone and into the icon. So I'll tap on that again. And all the menu options, like changing your font size, will be found in the More tab. So I'll tap on that again. And towards the very bottom, actually the third one from the bottom, it says Font Size. And you can either tap the plus sign on the very right-hand side, or you can just tap Font Size right on the text there, and it will bring up the font options. And so just to show you how they change, I'm going to go from the More tab to the Read tab. And if I tap on the Read tab, you can see the text here. This is what's considered large font. Now going back to the More tab, if I click on, let's say, small font, just to be a little drastic here, my font's changed, and then when I go to the Read tab, you can see the font is much smaller. So I gave you a little bit more than the answer you wanted, but again, go to the More tab, and then the font size is at the bottom.
One other thing to note, Will, that was perfect, is when you change a setting on your phone, that will also change your desktop version of Concord as well. So again, that's part of that account being a single kind of source. When you change a setting here, you will also see that change the next time you log into your desktop version of Concord.
Good call out.
Great, thank you both. That's awesome. All right, Kristen, I think we do have a couple of questions for you. Somebody writes in and asks, how do you sort lists by date or alphabetical? So
Sure.
Hopefully you can demonstrate that for us.
So Will, if you'll go back into our list panel, up at the very top, you're going to need to tap that left arrow to go back to the list manager first. Once you're in your list manager, up near the title in the top right-hand corner, well, the title's on the left, but on the right-hand side, there's a 3 horizontal line menu. And in that menu, if Will taps on it, thank you, you're going to see that there's a sort option there. And you can tap on the sort option.
Which one?
Sorry, let's go with by name. And that will then order your lists in alphabetical order from top to bottom. If you go back into it, you can also choose to sort the other way, and that way it will do it by the one that's most recently created. There's one other sort option, and that enables you to actually do it manually, where go ahead and choose that third option. Yep, thank you. And now you have to actually give your sort a name. So yeah, thank you. And say okay. And now you can actually manually drag and drop your lists into order. And it will save that order that you custom set up.
Great, thank you. Kristen, just along a similar line, somebody has written in and said, I have many lists. How do I select the one I want without having to read down all the lists to find it?
The easiest way to do that is, once again, going back into the list options menu and using the search functionality within there to search by title. And so you can search for a list by its name, and that is the title of the list. And so you're going to, tap on it, and then you can type in the title, like if you want to do search for peace, which is one of those. And then when you run the search, it will actually highlight it in green, and it will show them to you. And so you will still have to scroll through them. We only have a few lists in our account. So if you have many, you still have to scroll through to find the one that you're actually looking for, but it will highlight all the ones that have that particular word that you search for in green.
Great, thank you. Okay, Will, I think this one might be for you. Somebody has asked how you can change the font size again, please.
Yeah, of course. So going back to the More tab, so the very bottom right-hand side, it says More. It actually has that 3 horizontal line menu that we've seen a couple times. So I'll tap on that, and that will bring up all the different More options. And actually, mine's already expanded. I'll collapse it so it looks, this is what you'll see. And at the very bottom of the screen, 3 up actually. So if you look at the bottom, it says Log Out. 2 above that is Font Size. And if you tap on the words Font Size, you'll get the different font options. So right now it's on small, but you can choose small, medium, or large. And to make one of those selections, you just tap on one of those options. So if I tap on large, it will make the change. And now my font will be enlarged on the in the Read tab. And just like Kristen mentioned, whatever changes you make here on your phone, they'll also be made on your computer as well.
Thank you, Will. Well, I hope that helped. Okay, let me see. I think we've got time for a few more questions still. Kristen, this is maybe one you'd be able to help with. This is just sort of a general question. I think a couple of people have asked in asking what's the difference between the Concord Express app and the new Concord app?
So the Concord Express app was what was part of JSH quite a few years ago. And there was simply the ability to search within that particular version of the Concord at that point. What the Concord Guest Access offers today, which is the free version of Concord, it enables you to search, it enables you to read, it enables you to create a list, but you can't keep it. So it will enable you to initially add some citations to it, and you can print that out, or you can copy and paste it to another device. So there's a little bit more functionality that you can access using the Concord Guest Access version today that wasn't part of the Concord Express version. There are also one other area kind of that you are not able to do in Concord Guest Access right now, which is you can't access or play anything to do with the hymns due to copyright restrictions.
And I'll just jump in here and mention that if you're using Concord Guest Access for free and you decide that you would like to be able to access hymns or you would like to try saving some lists, you can register for a free 30-day trial. You don't have to put in any credit card information or anything like that. You can just try the full program free for 30 days. And then after that, decide if you would like to subscribe on a monthly or yearly basis.
Well, thank you both. That's great. Bree, somebody was just actually asking, would you be able to demonstrate how to copy and paste into an email, and what key does one hit when one wants to paste into an email?
Absolutely. So we'll have Will demo this one. So Will, if you want to go to the Read panel, and if you want to just highlight a passage there, perfect. So the first step is highlighting a passage in the Read panel. And once you have your passage highlighted, you'll tap on the 3-dot icon at the top of the screen there to bring up the menu that has the copy-paste options. So as I mentioned before, those copy-paste options, they're right at the bottom there. So all you'll do is you'll tap on whichever format you want. And I recommend going with free flowing if you're not too worried about trying to keep a lot of special formatting, if you just want the words. So will tap on free flowing, and then he'll see that this has now been copied. And now he can head back to his home screen and open up his email. Perfect. And you can scroll down well, and then you can use the return key there exactly to put a few spaces. So the next thing that we're going to do, I think this is the part you were asking about. So on your phone, there is no key to paste like you would have on your computer. So instead, you're going to tell your phone to paste by doing a special press with your finger. And it's pretty easy as long as you have very recently copied something. So just like Will did, he just copied something. What you'll do is you'll do a slightly longer press and hold with your finger, maybe for about a second, and then pick your finger up. And then this little menu will appear, which has a few different options. So rather than using a keystroke, you're using that longer press and hold for about a second and then release. And then you can see here you have the option to paste at the corner there. And so you'll just tap on paste. And that will bring in that passage.
Thank you, Bree. All right, next question. Kristen, I think this one might be a good one for you. How do you delete a citation in your list if you accidentally listed it twice?
Sure. So we're going to demo this. So if you'll go back over to the lists panel over there, and you need to open one of your lists. So let's open the list I was working in, the Joy one. And let's delete the passage that I had added from Science and Health on page 21. And the way to do this is, once again, that three-dot icon has a menu underneath it. And if you tap on that three-dot icon, you're going to get some new options that we didn't have time to cover in great detail. But down at the very bottom of this menu, you'll see that there is a delete option. And this will delete specifically your citation. So go ahead and tap on delete. And then this citation is gone.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, well, I think we've got about time for just one more question here. Somebody writes in, maybe Will, you could take this one. I find that when I use Concord on my phone at night, the screen is too bright. Is there anything I can do to make it easier on the eye?
Yeah, of course. So we do have a feature that helps with that. So I'll go back to my phone here, and we're going to go to the More tab again. This is where a lot of those kind of fun customizable options live. And I'll tap on More. And actually right above font size is an option that says Themes. And I can tap on that, and it will give me the different theme options. And you'll see there's 3 different ones. And so right now I'm in sunset/sunrise mode. And this one's really awesome. It's actually newer. We've added this in the last year or so. And what this one does is it basically will change the theme, so either light mode or dark mode, based off of, well, whether or not the sun's up. And it will actually sync to wherever you are in the world. It will figures out knows your time zone, and will actually adjust based off of when the sun's coming up and setting. But to answer the question, if you are reading at night and you find that your screen's still white and you'd like to make it put Concord in dark mode, you can tap on dark mode here, which is the middle option. So I'll do that. And voila, we're in dark mode. And you can see when you go to the Read tab to read, you have the black background now, but with white text. And so a little bit easier on the eyes, yes.
Great, thank you, Will. Well, I think that's about all we've got time for today. So I just wanted to thank you all for your great questions, and a big thanks to Will, Bree, and Kristen for all of your help here today. If you asked us a question that we weren't able to get to, as I mentioned, don't worry, we will be in touch with an email in the next couple of days with an answer. Alternatively, you can email us at any time at our email address, concord@csps.com. That's concord@csps.com. Later on today, as we've mentioned, we'll be sending out a follow-up email. In this email, you will find a link to today's recording. And towards the bottom of the email, we've included a couple of links with shortcuts to the videos and step-by-step instructions of how you can go ahead and create that Concord home screen shortcut that Will demonstrated earlier. And these shortcuts will show you how to do it both on an iPhone and an Android device. On your screen, you should be able to see a copy of this email, and towards the bottom, highlighted in red, is where you'll be able to find the links to these resources. When the email comes through, I'd really appreciate it if you could just spend just a few moments completing our short survey, as this will be really helpful to us. Before we go, the one last thing I wanted to do is encourage you all to experiment with Concord. Concord is designed to be explored and experimented with, and occasionally we do hear from people who are a little hesitant to try something new in case they break the program. But I wanted to assure you, this really isn't possible. If you do notice an issue, or get stuck, or just have any questions, you can write to us at any time at concord@csps.com, and we're always so happy to help. Okay, well, I promise this really is the last thing now. I just wanted to remind you that next week's email will be taking place the same time next week. That's Thursday, the 24th of March at noon Eastern Time. And it's the continuation of this mobile webinar series, and we're going to be covering some of the more advanced features with using Concord on your phone. But I just wanted to remind everyone and welcome everyone that really this webinar is designed for everybody, so don't let the fact that it might be an advanced session prevent you from coming. Essentially, I'm pretty sure that you will find a few tips and tricks that you'll be able to pick up along the way, so we'd really encourage you all to register. Okay, well, all that's left for me to say is thank you all again for taking the time to join us here today. Hope you've been able to take something away with you to help you with your study, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you all again next week. Thank you so much.